What's going on, guys? Back again with another video. This time the topic of discussion is the Fate Stay Night Heaven's Feel Trilogy. Great movie. Watched them all three. Finally completed it. Definitely recommend it. And so basically the topic of this video is going to be focused on 3 questions that were raised in the movie that I saw that was really, worth looking into. And so that's what we're going to be doing in this video. Just warning, I'm going to be going into spoilers. So if you have not watched all 3 movies, by all means, go ahead, pause the video, go watch them, come back. But otherwise, this is your warning. So let's begin. So the first question is, was it right for Shirou to save Sakura? So if you ask me personally, this isn't such a black and white question, right? Like, I would say objectively, no, it was wrong, but subjectively, yes. So what I mean by that is, okay, so let's start with the objective. Objectively, like, clearly, by getting rid of Sakura, you would have saved way more lives, right? Like, it's a no-brainer. Like, just from a bird's eye view from the top, yeah, like, get rid of Sakura and look at all the people you save in that city, right? But you can't. That's looking at it from a vacuum and looking at it as just like an objective observer, as we are watching the movie. So we have to get into the subjective, where I believe that it was arguably the right thing to do, right? Because subjectively, it's like Sakura is the closest person to Shirou at this point, right? Like, it's like he knew her history. He knew how she was abused. He'd spent so much time with her. They were living together. This is someone that he loved, right? Like, it's not something where he can just go, oh, flip a switch and, oh, whatever, and just be done with her. And then let's say he did make that choice. Let's say he did the logical decision, right? Could he really live with himself after that? And then, like, it basically kind of goes into the moral dilemma question that kind of faced Kiritugu. In is it worth it to take the lives of the few for the lives of the many? And I think at most times this is an easy answer, right? Like, it's pretty easy. But now I think the question is, now what if that few is people that you love? Where Kiritugu, his answer to that is like, who cares? Like, he's trying to save the world, and he would have made that decision in a heartbeat without thinking. Because I think Kiritugu, right? I think he killed the person that was like his mother figure at the expense of other people's lives, and he killed the person, his own father. Like, he just would not hesitate. But I feel like if you do make the objective, you take the objective pass and say, okay, look, no, the lives of the many is worth more than the lives of the few, even if it's someone that I love, then I feel like you have to ask yourself, well, what is the point of living? Because at the end of the day, as time goes on, you're going to be met with this question over and over and over. And that's kind of what happened to Shira in the Unlimited Blade Works route, right? Like, he decided to become that counter guardian, and he kept sacrificing lives of few for the lives of many, and it was just torture, because you just do this off into infinity, because no matter what, there's going to be conflict, and at the end of the day, what is the point? And then what was his end solution? To commit suicide, right? So basically, that's why I feel that Shirou rejecting that, like, that ideal, right? Like the hero of justice that he had taken the route in Unlimited Blade Works, and that his father before him, Kiritugu, had also took on, was the better decision. Because he has to deal with the guilt and the shame of not living to that ideal and, costing people more lives, but at least he's with the people he loves, right? So, and also outside of principles and just for Sakura's character alone, it's nice, that for one moment in her life that she gets put first, because as a child she was put second. So she was adopted out of the Tohsaka family, right? And then when she was with the Matō family, like, her happiness was took a back seat. Why? They put all those crestworms in her, knowing what it would do to her. And then on top of that, the way Shinji was treating her, and she would always put herself last just to make everything better for everybody else. if Shirou decided not to save her, obviously, like we stated earlier, that would have been the logical decision, but it would be a really sad outcome, especially for her character, that it's like she's constantly taking on the burdens of the rest of the world all the time, and she's never thought about. And yeah, so it's nice that small bit of happiness at the end. The second question is more of a 2-in-1, and that is the Holy Grail or Angra Mainyu, right, inherently evil if it is doing what it was designed to do? Furthermore, should the Holy Grail or Angra Mainyu be allowed to dictate its own future, to have a future, since it is a conscious being? Now, this question was interesting in that it was explicitly answered in the movie by both Shirou and Kirei Kotomine, and so and it was raised by Kirei in particular. So I'm gonna begin with his response. So from Kirei's point of view, he believes that it is not inherently evil. Yes, it was designed to be evil, but the Grail is not inherently evil, because for it to be evil, it would depend on how it feels about its actions. To where he said, well, yes, it is, when it becomes into existence, a lot of people will die. But we can't just call it evil, because what if when all the people die, it truly feels bad for its actions? Or maybe it doesn't feel bad for its actions and it's indifferent towards it. But until we see how the Grail or Angra Mainyu reacts to its function, what happens, the outcome of its function, we cannot deem it evil. Also, guys, for the purpose of speed, I'm just gonna call it Angra Mainyu the Holy Grail, just to simplify the conversation. And then he goes further on, like stemming from his idea of the Grail not being inherently evil, to protecting it, like kind of being a mother to the Grail. Like he wants to nurture it into existence, and that anybody who comes in as a perceived threat must be taken down, and he is willing to lay down his life for that. And I think this is symbolic in that he sees the Grail as a proxy of himself, right? So this is why he takes this position, right? Where it's like in his own life, like in the other Fate, like in Fate Zero and UBW, or mainly Fate Zero, he had to find himself. Whereas like he was spending a lot of time, it's like he couldn't understand why he was so non-empathetic, right? Like why he was so unempathetic to the hurt and the feelings of others, and even more so, why did he take joy in people dying? So he was always frustrated with himself being inherently evil, right? And it's so much so that I believe he even thought about suicide on occasions. Like he was going to off himself. And I think it was kind of Gilgamesh who took him off the rails. Gilgamesh was the person that said, hey, look, man, just do what your spirit guides you to do. And look, we all know what it guided Kirei to do. It wasn't good, yada, yada. But essentially that the comfort that he built in his own life gave him an appreciation to let things be, to let nature take its course. And so for him, for anyone to say that the Grail shouldn't exist is almost like to say Kirei shouldn't exist. So it kind of, it's like a bond that he has to the Grail. And that's what kind of strengthens his position on this, and why he's ready to die on that sword, so to speak. Then there's the other side to the conversation, and that is Shirou. Whereas from Shirou's point of view is that the Grail is inherently evil and it should not exist. Like it has no right to be born. And he's pretty staunch in this also. Like, and so basically where Shirou is coming from, he says, look, this thing is designed to destroy. And he is also inferring from this design that its will is to destroy. That he, like, since it's designed to destroy, he is putting it also an evil will onto the being, right? And which I guess intuitively sort of makes sense, obviously, but it's hypocritical for him to say that, because he is willing to sacrifice the city for Sakura, right? So it's like, who is he to question the girl's right to exist, in a way, right? Because it's like, when it came to Sakura, she was destroying the city. People was dying every night, and he didn't bat an eye, and he stayed with her and allowed her to be and exist and find a modicum of happiness, and to kind of even walk away from her own actions, right? Like, he gave her that option, like, he gave her that choice when he could have easily just killed her, and when everyone was asking him to just kill her, like Zoken asked her, Rin was planning on to it, like literally the whole world was ready to just take her out, except Kirei actually let her be. And so basically you have this situation where Shirou is constantly looking like a hypocrite who's playing favorites, because clearly Sakura is almost identical to the Holy Grail in many ways, and that she was it was put in her, she was combined with it, her whole existence was designed for this purpose, and everything that she was doing was just acting out a purpose that she was designed to do, one that she had no intentions of doing. And when she was made aware of her actions, like Kirei said, she, on the other hand, rather than being indifferent towards it, felt totally and completely guilty and wanted to rectify that, right? And so that was kind of Kirei's point. Like, we cannot call something evil if did not choose the actions that has been, forced onto it, right? Other people designed it to do those actions. And then also that the only way it can be evil is when its actions are brought out to bear and we see its reaction. And we saw Sakura's reaction, and her reaction was not that of indifference. And so that allows Shirou to feel more comfortable protecting her, especially since he's got a deep love for her. So now he can play favorites with that. But where he plays favorites with that, he is totally blinded and can't even give the Holy Grail that same opportunity. Which obviously makes sense, because it's a creation designed for destruction that he has no connection to. So it's much more easier to make that decision. Whereas for someone like Kirei, as we discussed earlier, his connection to the Holy Grail, like through his own personal history, that decision is a non-starter for him, Kirei. Now, if you asked me who was correct, I would say in a way that they're both correct. Like, in principle, I would say that Kotomine is correct in the argument of the good and evil and the purpose of its use, right? But where I would say that Shirou is correct is in the action to take. So yes, I can agree that, okay, maybe that we don't know the actual nature of the beast, but we understand its function, and its function is to destroy humanity. So I'm not going to waste my time and let that thing exist. But what's interesting is that later on in the Fate franchise, I haven't seen it myself, but in my research I saw this, that Angermanu actually chooses to be good. I believe he becomes, like, he gets summoned as an Avenger. I guess, I don't know if he's with the Holy Grail or not, or whatever, but his existence comes in. He's still all the world's evils, and he's worked with the Scrub Bazette, and she has an issue. He saves her, and on top of helping to save her, he chooses to just live a normal life, like, instead of just trying to be this destroyer. So in a way that confirms or gives a bit more validity to what Kirei was trying to say, that, like, allow it to exist and choose, right? And then we'll find out. So yeah. So then this takes us to the third and final question, and that is, who are the heroes, or were there any heroes? And so this one is interesting in that, like, it doesn't necessarily get explicitly raised by any of the characters, or even answered by any of the characters, but it's something more of a theme that pops out into the show or the movie. And if you ask me personally, how I would answer this is that the answer to me is, objectively, there are no heroes in this movie. Subjectively, almost every character was a hero. And my reasoning for this is that if you look at it just from the outside point of view, everybody's acting in their own selfish interest, right? Like, they're protecting someone at the cost of something else, right? Shirou is protecting Sakura at the cost of the city. Rin decided not to kill Sakura at the cost of, once again, the city. Kirei is protecting the Grail at the cost of humanity. Ilya protected the Shirou in the world at the cost of the Grail. Like everybody is protecting somebody at the cost of somebody else. And so, despite this fact, the reason I say that they're almost all of them are heroes from a subjective point of view is that because that almost all of them are laying their lives down for somebody else, and to that person, they are heroes, and it's appreciated. So in a vacuum, or like in their small little world, or on a micro scale, they're heroes, but on the macro, they're not. And I guess that's kind of one of the themes, is that every time I guess for the most part, whenever you're a hero at the expense of another, to somebody else. So when you wear the cape of a hero, you're also wearing the jacket of a villain. I guess that's kind of in a way how I look at it, as far as it came down in the movies. And yeah, so that's it. Appreciate y'all watching up to this point, and I hope y'all stick with me and check out my other videos. All right, that's it. I'm out. Peace.